We've got an exciting Monday Night Football matchup here. Not as exciting as I think we all would like, as Joe Burrow is out for the season with his wrist surgery, but still a good one here with a lot of major playoff implications as the Cincinnati Bengals fly down to Jacksonville to take on Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars here. So Jake Browning had his first start here. We were just talking about that right before we recorded, just making sure we had our notes correctly. And you said in general, didn't seem like Browning played horrible for his first start going up against a solid Steelers defense. And on the flip side, Trevor Lawrence looked the exact opposite of horrible in that win against the Houston Texans. Had an amazing game, through for well over 300 yards here, and beat a good young Texans team to maintain control not only of the AFC South division, get a nice good cushion in their overall lead within the division, but also kept them in the hunt for overall home field advantage, as they are just a half game behind the Baltimore Ravens, who are on a bye this week. So it'd be huge for Jacksonville. Want to come away with a victory here. But Ryan, I want to throw it over to you here first. Just kind of this, we'd expected like the slow start from Cincinnati. You know, that's what they've done in the past, kind of new offensive line, or kind of reinvented offensive line again. So I thought that would take some time here. But now, since I feel like with the Joe Burrow injury, let's see, and I know it's just been one game, but even just the overall vibe, is everyone kind of just written off the Bengals or make the playoffs now? Are they like done with the playoffs?
I don't think they're done. They're definitely on the outside looking in, especially they were struggling already before. So they're 5-6. And I think right now the Colts are 6-5 at the 7 seed. The Jags do have the tiebreaker over the Colts. However, this is I'm sorry, totally messed that up. I don't know if the Bengals have a tiebreaker over the Colts. I can look really fast. But
I don't believe they played.
No, they haven't played. And also the conference record for the Bengals is 1-6. So they need a few teams to lose for them to really have a chance, because they have one of the worst conference records in the AFC right now. So that for me, I think it's not favorable for them. And I think mentally they were already struggling on the offensive side of the ball. And then the Joe Burrow injury, I think they had finally started to find a little bit of an offensive rhythm, and then Joe Burrow got hurt. And that losing your starting quarterback in any scenario is demoralizing, but especially after a rough start, then you found a rhythm, and within that rhythm, your starting quarterback gets hurt. It just throws everything out of whack again, and you kind of have to go back to start from zero. And that's in week 13. That's kind of hard to do. So
yeah. Well, it's still, anything can happen. December football is crazy. And so they're definitely not out of it, but definitely, I mean, they're sitting currently right now at 11th behind the Texans, Broncos, and Bills, who are also all on the outside looking in. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Texans either. They're a game behind them. So that'll be very unique. They play the Bills later on in the season as well, which that will be they beat the Bills. My apologies. They play the Chiefs
they did.
and the Steelers again, and then the Colts actually the following week. My apologies. So also they play the Browns as well. So they actually have nothing but playoff games for the rest of the season so far. So they can definitely play their way in. It's going to be interesting to see what Jake Browning has here. But then on the flip side, though, you're going up against this Jacksonville team now, who they were without Tyson Campbell this past week due to a hamstring injury. So that'll be very interesting to watch here as well, especially if T. Higgins is healthier as well. So they'll need all the help that they can get in the secondary, considering actually the fact that the Jags have one of the worst passing defenses so far in the league, allowing over 2,800 passing yards. Luckily, the Bengals are right behind them, just 50 yards less allowed on the season for passing. So that will be huge here, because you don't want to give Jake Browning any confidence or any momentum. If it's Joe Burrow, you just kind of want to contain. But now you want to be able to get after him. You want to be able to get some pressure on them. Trayvon Walker had some huge sacks, and the entire defense front had some huge sacks on the final drive of that Texans game here. So they're going to want to keep that momentum. But also then, too, kind of with this Jacksonville defense just sticking there, they have the fourth best overall rushing defense with only with less than 1,000 rushing yards allowed so far on the season. You maybe make an argument that that's because they know they could pass against the Jags defense, but still allowing less than 100 yards per game rushing the ball. It's going to be huge, especially against the Cincinnati Bengals team, who's only had 834 rushing yards so far on the season. That's going to be
Mhm.
huge. Really going to have to force Jake Browning to play well. Hope that T. Higgins is healthy and just need to contain that offense. But at the same time, though, Trevor Lawrence seems to be clicking on all cylinders. Travis Etienne in the background is playing great. Calvin Ridley's doing awesome. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones is back, which I think having Zay Jones back has really opened up that offense. He's that speedster kind of guy, opening things up for Ridley underneath or long or
Yeah,
post,
he's also
whatever.
just a third guy that you have to account for because he can burn you for sure.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Evan Ingram yet either. So this offense seems to be clicking just like how they were doing last year. As I said, December football, that is where a lot of money is made, and it seems like the Jaguars have the momentum to kind of do what they did last year, run the table going on to the playoffs, which could help to get home field advantage, which would be huge for the team. So it's going to be interesting to watch here. It kind of stinks. A lot of the primetime games in December and late January or early January are really good. I think it's for a reason based on the NFL sets up. So I hate seeing these injuries here, but I still think this one has potential to be a good one with a lot of major playoff implications on the line here. So if there's nothing else, let's get into our predictions. But before we do that, if you have not already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new content. Ryan and I, we have a fun final goal so far for the year that we all can kind of do together here. And if we hit 2,333 subscribers as a community, we would have grown our community by 2,000 in the calendar year so far. Started at 333 at the start of the year. So if we got to 2,333, that would be mind-boggling. Ryan and I never would have predicted that we would have grown this much this quickly, all thanks to you guys. So if you haven't already, help us reach our goal. Like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified. And Ryan, I want to throw it over to you. Who do you think is going to win this game and why?
I'm going to go with the Jags. I just think they're the better team. Mentally, I think they're playing for more, whereas I think the Bengals have kind of already checked out of the season where they've had a lot of ups and downs, right? Like Joe Burrow got hurt in training camp. They came out real flat this year, and it was just it just wasn't their year. And then it was like, oh, well, maybe we'll find a rhythm and do what they did last year. And then now Joe Burrow's hurt again, and that's just another low. And so I think the Jags are catching the Bengals at a good time. They're catching them in one of those low swells, I guess. And I just think, too, if I'm the Bengals rushing 11 times for 25 yards last week, that is really poor. And then to come in against the fourth-ranked rushing defense this week, I don't see it really improving, and I don't think Jake Browning is going to be good enough to come in and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and be the main driver of this offense. And against this Jags offense, you're going to have to put up 25 or more, like, to really even be able to compete. So
yeah, no, it's tough looking at different avenues. Like in games like this. I guess kind of some of the top-notch teams. The way I kind of look at it is like, what are some of the different avenues of victories, so to say? And I feel like the Bengals are just going to have to hope that their defense shows up, which like it will show up, and we'll give the Jags some fits. But I can see the Jags winning this in a kind of grinded out type game, just because the Bengals can't put up points. But also, I can see them winning in a shootout if the Bengals could somehow put up points as well. So there's just more avenues to success, I feel, for the Jags, especially with Joe Burrow not playing, than vice versa for the Bengals. So I'm also going to go with the Jags as well. I think it'll be very interesting here. Very interesting to see kind of how the Jags season pans out, especially with the Jags, Colts, Vikings, Steelers, Chiefs, and ending the season with the Browns as well. I will say, in 3 of those 6 games, they will be playing backup quarterbacks. And then the other game will be against the Steelers, who have the Steelers offense that they have to try and figure out how to manage every single game. That being said, the Steelers did put up 400 yards for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, but only 16 points. So
yeah, 400 yards, though, is a lot, though. So I think maybe see different success here. But it'll be interesting to see kind of where the Bengals shape up at the end of the year. Because I will say what will be interesting here, too, and I was thinking about this with the Joe Burrow injury. Let's say they somehow let's say they end up in the top 10, 8th or whatnot. T. Higgins will be going on probably through free agency. It'll definitely go into free agency as well, because I think the Bengals, we might can continue that Tiger trend, so to say, because imagine Malik Neighbors in this offense with a healthy Joe Burrow. Then you have Jamar Chase on the other side. Like that's about where he will be falling, is in that maybe top 5, but definitely the top 10 for sure. And imagine him on that team. They would be able to replace T. Higgins and that production easily. And then, I mean, I don't know how you guard Jamar Chase and Malik Neighbors at the same time.
So actually, the guy for me, if T. Higgins leaves and you want a similar receiver, that Keon Coleman is going to be right there too. Like it's more just pick your flavor. So I personally like Malik Neighbors, but I also see the value in Keon Coleman at that level as well.
I can see the value of guys like Keon Coleman, which are those deep threat jump ball guys. But
he's more than that, though. He is.
Oh no. Yeah. He is. I always say if there's like a player strength, I think that will be it. I tend to not. I like the guys who can kind of create their own space. Something like a JSN. Like he's not the quickest, but like he's always going to be able to give you that separation and kind of be able to rely on him. And I'm just using him as an example from last year. I think Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison are also other guys that are like that.
Yeah. Well, but like to me, Malik Neighbors is a 6 foot, 200-pound version of Zay Flowers. Like that's to me kind of what he looks like on film, and that's probably not the best comparison. But he to me is a complete receiver. This is off-season talk, but
I know. It's probably my favorite part of the NFL season. I'm probably almost waiting for the season to end so we can start talking about
the other one that, if we're going to stay on this topic, the other one I think they could invest into a nice right tackle. Amarius Mims. I was at the Georgia Tech game. Amarius Mims was bigger than I think all of the Georgia Tech players on the opposite side of the field when they were doing warm-ups. He is just so big, and he's not your fat offensive lineman. He is probably below 15% body fat at 315 pounds. He is a massive human being. And so it's, to me, I think there's a lot of options to go. There's also Talise Fuaga from Oregon State, the right tackle there as well. They just invested in Orlando Brown for the left tackle spot. And their current right tackle is going to go in free agency as well for the Bengals. So that's another spot I think that they could invest in that they could definitely use. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting game. We're both going with the Jacksonville Jaguars, though. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and help Tyler and I reach that goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Is it going to be the Cincinnati Bengals? Is it going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.